Today, we're going to be talking about Gutenberg and what's coming with Gutenberg and what's coming with the latest version of WordPress. And that's going to be version 5.0. They've been kind of pushing it back. We thought we were going to get it in April. We thought maybe in May. It might be in June. We're not 100% sure when this software is coming, but they are getting... they're getting really close. The tool is really nice. I think it's going to be a game changer when it comes to WordPress, especially for those who just want to create the perfect page. You know, they have a really good idea of what they'd like in the page, but then they don't know how to accomplish it. Right now, it's really blocky when you try to figure things out in WordPress. Like sometimes you need to use short codes. Sometimes you need to use HTML. Sometimes you have to kind of wedge in some stuff or build it into the theme, and it's just not really that great. It's not that great of an experience. So that's what Gutenberg is setting out to do. That's what it's setting out to fix and to change. They want an experience that makes it more like editing on the front end of your website. Now remember, like as we build a website and we add some short codes, and then it's like, I wonder what this looks like, and then you have to save it, and then you have to open up another tab, then you have to look at it, and is this right? It's just not the best user experience, especially for people that are brand new to WordPress. And it is something that is really hard to believe that, we're to 30% of the internet and we still don't have the greatest interface for adding content to our website. So that's what Gutenberg is setting out to share. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to check here. I've got a message that I want to check my mic to make sure my mic is okay. I'm going to change it to this one. I think is going to be a little bit better, so you can hear me coming through the soundboard here. If that's... Can't hear me now at all. It's a bit low. It's worse now. Okay, I will go back to where it was. I'll go back here. And how about now? Is that better? We're back to where we were. All right, that's good. Let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and so we can kind of dive in and we can get going with what we're seeing here. So I've got a local version of local version here running on desktop server, or I'm actually using local by Flywheel this time. And I've got just Gutenberg installed and Yoast installed. Now I could go through the exercises of showing you how to install this. It's pretty simple. You just go and you add new, and then you search for Gutenberg, and you just start typing Gutenberg, and it's going to pop up, and then it's going to give you the opportunity to install now. Now this is something that you don't want to install when you are on a live site, and that's why I'm doing it on a test site and an example site here. But you just want to try it on a place where you can see what it's going to do to your regular site. You can see it's been updated last week. I just had to upgrade to version 2.8, and it's got more than 10,000 active installs. The way WordPress is working these days is they roll out the brand new features in plugins. They make sure that all the features are working, and then they release them into core, so into that 5.0 version. When you install Gutenberg for the very first time, you get this extra little menu down here at the bottom, and it is the demo area. It gives you the opportunity to see what it's like and see how it works. So we're going to dive right in and check that out right now. So as this loads here, you're going to see this is the brand new editor. This is what it's going to look like when we launch and we start using WordPress 5.0. Now it is good to know that there is an option to install a plugin that will allow you to. It's called the Classic Editor. So if you don't want to change anything at all when WordPress 5.0 comes out, you can get to the Classic Editor. You can install that plugin, and then everything's going to look exactly the same. But this is out of the box. What's going to happen when you open up a post or a page within Gutenberg? You can see it's a lot different. There's a lot less kind of clutter, if you will, but there's a lot of information that's happening over here on this side. This basically is giving us there's some information here about the document itself. So we're going to see the standard visibility, the publish date, the post format, sticky post, etc., pending review. One of the cool parts, and this is this is probably something that most people wouldn't really notice, but have you ever tried to schedule a post in the future? And right now it gives you those boxes, so you can use the drop down, but you pick what month it's in, and then you have to hand type in the date. Well, this has the ability, it's got a calendar, which is like the smallest little feature, but one of the big things for me. So I know that every week when I publish a podcast on a Wednesday, no matter what day I'm scheduling it, I can always just go ahead and click the next Wednesday, and that's going to be the day it publishes. You can see as I'm clicking things up here, we've got the save draft button, like it's auto saving for me just to make sure that we don't lose any of those changes. But we'll just go ahead and keep it today, and we'll schedule it. See, my time is not it's correct here as it says 5:05 p.m. I didn't go even into to set up that's the UTC time. Didn't even change that in my settings here. So the main features that we are normal and accustomed to seeing on the right hand side of WordPress in the dashboard, we're going to see that right here when we go to the document. And so we'll see all of the same stuff, the featured image, excerpts, discussion, table of contents, like those types of things. Those will all be found there on the right-hand side, okay? So it's all there. It's just kind of in a different order. And we can see here's where we can change and modify the title. We can see the permalink is right here, and we can edit it. That's pretty much the same. It hasn't really changed a whole lot. We do have the forward and back button, so the undo and the redo, it's up here. And then as we scroll down, we can see these different kind of pieces of content. Like this one's right aligned, and this one looks kind of like a quote or a heading. We've got some pictures. We've got some stuff in here, and these are what's called blocks. And so everything kind of within Gutenberg goes within these blocks. And so this image is a block, this text is a block. So if we click on this, it's just like this big kind of, I don't know, we think of it kind of as a Lego brick, or it's kind of you're building the page top to bottom. And what's cool about this is you can fix things, or you can edit things specifically to the block. I know that a lot of times we've had people like, oh, how do you change the font of this? Or how do you do this? And how do you do this? And it's not very intuitive, but here I can double tap and I can say I want that bold, and I can have this underlined, and I want this piece, I want to strike through, and I want the whole thing right justified. Like I can do that with a few clicks. The other thing is now we have these block settings over here. And so the block settings allow us to change the text if we want to. By just clicking, we can change the text real simply. We can add a drop cap at the very front if we wanted to do something like that. Looks kind of weird with a right justification, but we can do that. If we want to change the background color, like if we wanted to make that whole background orange and have a little bit of border around it, we can do that as well. So it's kind of cool. Like you can customize things to an extent, and you can customize things so it works, and you can, fill out your page exactly the way that you want to. Now, what happens if you want to add a new block? You just click and you start adding things. So you can click a button here and you can do an add, and they'll have your suggested ones that you've used most recently. So paragraph, table, custom HTML. These are some of the ones that I was doing when I was practicing and running through a demo, but you can see all of the blocks right here. There's a bunch of them that are there. There's some embeds. So if you want to embed something from Speaker or VideoPress, and you can go ahead and you can find what you want. Embed something from Facebook, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you want to add some shared blocks, like shared blocks are ones that you can set up, and then you can share them and you can use them on different posts. So I'm just going to go to suggested here, and maybe we want to add a table. Tables are really hard, and that's not something that's ever been able to be done within WordPress. And if we wanted to, we can add a row before or after. We can add some more columns. Maybe we want to add a column after. And so now we've got the ability to build in a table, and we can have, 1, 2, 3, just to number these blocks. So we have them and they're there. It's pretty slick. It's a pretty cool interface, and it's really cool on what you can do with, yes, and I'm pulling up the chat here so I can see this, but it is a responsive table. So it's responsive in the fact that it will shrink in and out, and it really depends on the width of the browser and the width of the text that's in the box. So that's something you need to think about. Let's see, what else can I show you here? Oh, if you want to eventually move these, maybe you want to have these boxes moved or they're changed, you can go ahead and you can use these up and down arrows, and they just move up and down. You just kind of flip them wherever you want them. If you click here on the right, you can hide the block settings, which are over here. You can edit this as HTML, or can convert to a shared block. So if this is something that you want to have on multiple pages, if you want it to be easily accessible or whatever, you can change that to a shared block, which is kind of neat. If you need to duplicate it, you can do all that. Or if you want to transform it into another type of block or another type of block, you can do that as well. So it's really cool. There's some cool things that you can do, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll save this draft here, and we'll do a preview so we can see what it's actually starting to look like. But we can see that the box is here, and then based on the settings, like it shows that they're just underlined. I didn't outline all of the boxes, but those are there like this. And if we wanted to, we could grab and we could start shrinking it in. And so that table is responsive. It's, the right size or whatever. Whoops. And so we can see all of that, which is really, really nice. Let's make it a little bit bigger now so we can so we can keep going. So that's just kind of in a nutshell what you can do with Gutenberg. It's really cool. There's lots of things, and the cool part is like all of these new blocks. So say we want to add a new block here, you just kind of hover over this area and click, and then you have the ability to add a block. So we can search for blocks. Like if we wanted to add a YouTube, we could just start typing YouTube, and we can go ahead and we can pop this in here, and then you enter the YouTube URL and it will automatically show here. I believe if you search in YouTube and you add a URL from YouTube, you can actually embed it and play in the video. But we can go ahead and look at YouTube real quick, see if there's anything. Of course, there's going to be nothing that's a great link to use right here on my homepage of YouTube. But if we do this,
I would say it's
and then go back to here and just enter the URL, and we can hit embed, and it's going to go ahead and put it right there, and you can actually play it and watch it. Now it's giving, of course, I picked a terrible video in a live demo, but that's what it works with, or what it looks like. The Beaver, or there's a question in the chat about Beaver Builder and Site Origin. I believe they all still play nicely. I haven't tried it with any of the page builders that are out there currently, but that would be something that definitely needs to be tested for sure. Adam says that Beaver Builder is coming, support is working on it. I know that they'll probably be ready for launch, but this would be a great opportunity to duplicate your site, play with it. Like what happens, what's going to happen. The important thing to know is when WordPress 5.0 launches and it comes out, you are going to have the ability to let's see, if you don't edit a post, nothing's going to happen. Like your site's not going to break, your content's not going to break. Everything is going to look absolutely perfect. There's not going to be an issue any way, shape, or form about how how your old past content is. So that's a good news for me. I mean, I don't want to have to go in and edit 400 podcast episodes to make it fit into Gutenberg. Gutenberg is just adding some block text or some code around it's basically, we're just adding div tags essentially is what we're doing. So if you scroll all the way back up to the top, or I guess you don't have to go to the top, but over here on the right hand side is where you switch to the code editor, or there is a shortcut. It's Command Shift Alt M on the Mac, and there's some other settings as well. If you're on a different platform, I'm sure the settings are similar, but basically what it's doing is it's just wrapping everything in these div tags, and it's just wrapping these in these tags, and so the Gutenberg editor can know how to parse things into blocks. And so if you deleted part of this, it's going to go a little bit wonky because it's not going to know where the end of the block is, and it's going to have more, or it's not going to have the same amount of paragraph tags or whatnot. So that's what that looks like. It's just that's all it's doing. And so your content's not being changed. If you open up a new post, it's going to do what it can to wrap things in and put them into blocks. But if you don't open the post up ever, it's going to be exactly the same. They are doing a really a fine job and spending tons of time testing and trying to figure out and making sure that nothing breaks backwards compatibility. So they want to make sure that somebody that's got 1,000 pages on their website, when they launch Gutenberg, that nothing goes wrong with all of those things back in the back end. So that's something that they're really working hard on to make sure that isn't broken and making sure that there's no issues there. So that's something to think about. But again, it is something that's going to change the way that we work. It's going to change the way things are laid out. I'm kind of thinking through it for myself when I build my show notes. I build them and I write them all in Markdown. But I may be more interested in finding out, like building one out in a Gutenberg editor, and then start wrapping the text, inside of those HTML blocks and just kind of doing it that way and making sure that all of my new posts are compatible with the blocks. I haven't 100% decided. Again, I haven't really experienced it yet and haven't had a chance to do that yet. So that's kind of what I'm thinking and going through the section there. The next question is from Eli. It says, is there a Markdown to Gutenberg block converter? And so that's there's a Markdown to Gutenberg block converter. I mean, if we have Markdown and we're using Jetpack, it's going to go ahead and it's still going to convert the Markdown for us. Nothing is going to go wrong with that conversion. If not, I don't know if they have a block per se. I can look here and see if they have a, is there one for Markdown? No, there is no markdown for specifically if you wanted to put that in, but they do have custom HTML if you wanted to just to add HTML. This one would be great if you are adding some code from, maybe you're embedding something from another site and you just need to paste in some code to make it work or whatever. You can do that, and then you can actually do a live preview while you're there. So, which is pretty cool. So, that's something that's cool. So if you did, if you just wanted to do like an H1 and it even kind of like auto expands for you. So you can say, I can just say Dustin's webinar like that. And then I'm all done. I can do a preview and I can see what that looks like. So it's all about the big thing that you're going to, I think really like about Gutenberg and enjoy about the experience is just being able to make some changes and preview them live right here in your dashboard. And you figure out like these blocks, the blocks are super simple to set up. If you just say you want to add more content here at the bottom of your page, you can just enter, and it starts a brand new one. So we can start typing like here's our brand new block. You do another one and that's another block. It's basically just giving all of them a block. I think if you do a shift enter, that keeps it in the same block, or an enter will open it into a new block. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here quickly, as I scroll down to the bottom, is I installed Yoast just so we can get an idea of what some of these plugins are going to look like. If you have a normal installation of WordPress and half a dozen plugins to a dozen, or however many, you're going to have some plugins that add extra settings and extra features at the bottom of posts or pages, or what's WooCommerce going to look like and things like that. And so this is what Yoast looks like, and it is a expandable thing at the bottom that you can collapse or you can open up. And once it's opened up, you can see that it just looks like the normal Yoast block. So you can put in your keyword, you can see your analysis. It's kind of all in one area. It's down here at the bottom. So some of those things will be down here at the bottom. Remember, some of them was over here in this area here. We had the excerpt, which is normally down underneath the post, that's going to be under here as well. Discussion is over there, and table of contents. Table of contents is pretty cool. This is just something that's built out as you're building something, as you're building a post or a page. It goes in and you can click here and it'll scroll you right to the section where there's a picture is 1,000 words. So if you're writing very, very long blog posts, this is perfect. So you can jump to the areas very, very quickly. It's like a built-in table of contents. As long as you use one of the 4 headings, it's going to go ahead and do that as well. So that's what that piece is all about. Let's check the questions here. What about creating custom themes in Gutenberg? Is that for another podcast? I haven't figured out all that needs to be done for custom themes. But I know that there's going to be a lot of things that you can build in and just make work right out of the box, whether that be your settings, or if this was a page, we'd be able to select the page template. And so like the page template would be a really great one to have a full width page template, because with these images here, we can set them in the block themselves, we can set them to be full width. It's somewhere here. There's an option for, I guess this is a gallery, but there's some of them. One of them has the ability like to go full width, or you can create a custom image. You can change this background dimness, which is pretty cool. Like, so you can do some cool things here, but it's going to be I guess there's probably information coming. I'm not a theme author, so I don't know a whole lot about what's coming when it comes to themes, but I'm sure there's a lot of cool things that you can do with the plugin, or with building the theme itself. It's kind of like when the customizer came out and you could start adding your options to the customizer instead of adding them to your own like custom theme options area. It's kind of like that. You have that ability and you can build some of this stuff into the theme. Like, for example, WooCommerce I know is coming out when WordPress 5.0 launches. We're going to launch with some I think they're called Woo blocks or Gutenberg blocks or something goofy. But you basically could add a block for WooCommerce and say, I want to add my 4 on sale products, or I want to add this, or I want to add this. And it would be the same thing if inside your theme you've built in some functionality for, let's say, About Us page, and you have an area where they can add each person that works at the company, or the team page. You could build some blocks in to make it easier to navigate that and easier to make that work. So that's something that you could think about as well. So that's something like you just have to kind of keep up with what's going on in the Gutenberg atmosphere. And there's probably some documentation out there about how to how to spend time and how do you modify your themes and how do you get your theme ready for Gutenberg. Gutenberg is coming in as a plugin right now. This is a question from Walter. It is an add-on now for anything that's less than WordPress 5.0, and so you can go in and you can install it on every site. I'm really tempted, and I was going to do it for this live webinar, and I was like, well, I just didn't have enough time, and I didn't want to really muck up my dev site for yourwebsiteengineer.com. I was just going to put it on there and see what happens, and see what plugins break, and see what and just kind of play around with it, so I can get a little bit more familiar with what's happening. But when WordPress 5.0 comes out, it's going to be the default editor, like automatically turned on, and that's what you get. Like so right now, if you install it, we have the ability. We can go down to this Gutenberg thing, and we can edit, and we can play with this. Or what we can do is, if we are in the add new area, or in the all post area, we can, if you just click on it like you normally would, or hit edit, that's going to take us to the Gutenberg editor. If we have the Gutenberg plugin installed, you have the ability to do Classic Editor as well. Now, if you are, I believe this will stay in for a little while. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if they've made a decision or not. But if you want to launch, when WordPress 5.0 launches, there's something called the Classic Editor, and it's a plugin that you can install from the WordPress repository. And then that will give the ability to deactivate, quote unquote, the Gutenberg interface and just not confuse your customers right away. So this is especially important if you are doing a live version, or you have a lot of clients and you don't want them all to be freaked out with a new interface. You can update to 5.0. You can make the changes and the adjustments to turn on the Classic Editor still, and then slowly, one by one, roll out some training or teach them how to use this new interface. I think it's going to be I personally think, like, after you use Gutenberg once or maybe twice, it just kind of makes sense. And it just I don't know. Like, I think it is a much better, much neater experience, and it just feels like it works a lot better. And so I'm really excited to see what the team can do and how they can make it better. You just feel how snappy this is. Like, you click the button and it's there. We don't have to, there's no page refresh. There's no page reload. If we do have a plugin that needs a short code for some reason, I know that the Smart Podcast Player that I use, that needs a short code. So in the interim, I'm probably going to have to just do short, and you can add a short code and a block with a short code, and you can write the short code right there. So I don't think I have any on this test site or whatnot, but I think it even does a little bit of a preview if it can render it out. So that's the power of the JavaScript, the JavaScript code that's working there. It can automatically do a lot of things without us having to refresh and figure out, is this the best way, or how does this work, or what all that looks like. So that's what I'm really, really excited about when it comes to Gutenberg. Go check the channel here and see if there's any more questions. Chris asks, prior to 5.0, a version of WordPress will roll out a try Gutenberg button, something to be aware of if you have click-happy clients. Yeah, I know that was supposed to come out with the latest version, but I'm not sure if that was, I don't know if the latest version, they pushed it back a little bit because it wasn't quite ready. So I'm not exactly sure where that is. I'm not on the Gutenberg team, and I don't really follow it that closely, but I knew that there was going to be some great opportunities to just kind of share and kind of figure out, like, what's coming, and just showcase this and create a little video about it, because there are some significant changes, but I think they're all for the good, or much better. And they've done a lot to really think through what's coming. I love being able to create a list. You can create a list, or you can change it, and just look how snappy that is. Like, that just changes instantly. You can make the whole thing, or I guess you have to highlight text to make it bold or unbold or whatever, but it just, I don't know, it feels like it just works. If you want to add another title, you just click right here. Whoops. You click, the clicking is just a little bit, you have to figure out where to click, but say heading, you can add a heading right here, and you pick what size you want, and it automatically shows. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, you can do all of this. You can write justify it. You can do some cool things. Even there's some advanced tabs. So if you wanted to have additional CSS class, so I think this would work. I've never really tried this, but we could say, I guess you could just define the class. So you could just say, I want the class to be heading orange if you want to, and then you would have to write the CSS code to make that code actually turn orange. So it's cool. There's a lot of things that you can do. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's going to be a lot of benefits to it. They're still working on some accessibility features to make sure that everybody can use it. And I think it's going to be a really cool platform, and I'm excited. And I don't know if I have much else to say. There's not a lot more demo. The release date is still unknown. 100% sure. Do not know. Like I said, it was supposed to be they originally kind of targeted March or April time period. It's not. Obviously didn't come out in April. It probably won't come out in May. We're not really. I haven't even seen WordPress 5.0 beta yet, and so until we get a beta, it's usually about 6 weeks after that beta comes out. And so it's going to take a little while for it to roll out, and I'll be sure to keep everybody updated via email and via the podcast and whatnot when it's coming, when we should start be trying it and whatnot. But I think it's got some really cool things. The WordPress 5 or 4.9.6 is scheduled to release on May 15th. So that's like next week. They're looking for that. And so that's going to be the next latest version, and that won't have Gutenberg installed yet at all. Let's see if there's any more questions here. Peter says, my current workflow is to compose in Word, copy to the finished piece to WordPress. I fear that Gutenberg will make pasting a finished article more difficult. I don't think so. I don't think that will. We can try copying this text and just adding it, like if we wanted to go ahead and add a new block here and just paste it, and it pasted both of those blocks right here. I think it does a pretty good job of pasting in the content from what you've created. I don't know what it does if you have links and things highlighted and different things like that. Not 100% sure what that looks like, but Peter, I think the best thing to do is try it out, copy and paste it and see what happens. I know that they've done a lot of work to make it super easy for everybody to use. And so I would think that would work pretty well. And Eli says GDPR probably got in the way, and that's probably the case. That's the regulation that's coming out of Europe that's making sure that people's privacy or people's data is not stored longer than necessary, and people know that who's collecting what data and whatnot. And so that is probably slowing down a lot of things. The page builders, Kim, that's another question that wasn't 100% sure with how they work with Gutenberg. I think Adam said that it's coming with Beaver Builder. It's some of those other ones, the Site Origin, and some are, it looks like Elementor is compatible already. And so it's just a matter of those developers working the pieces out to make it work right and make that experience very, very cohesive. I don't think that Gutenberg is going to replace those editors, because those editors have a certain position, and there's so many people that have fallen in love and use exactly use exactly all the features that they want out of those page builders. And so I don't think that they're going to go away at any time. So that's where I think that they'll continue to be in our ecosystem, and it's just a matter of those developers catching up and making sure that they're developing. I'm sure they're all working on it. Everybody has known that Gutenberg has been coming, and it'll be coming for the next few months. And so I think we'll have a lot that are ready when this version finally launches. So yeah, Chris says, I think it's supposed to do better parsing when pasting from Word. Yeah, I think that you can pretty much write wherever and then paste it in. And I think it detects those line breaks, and then it just creates those into different blocks. I don't think that's a big issue. Like, some people are like, well, why do you need a block every time? And it's just a way that, just in case you wanted to, have a one line sentence that, needed to be bold, and you wanted it to be right justified, or a bigger text, or a block quote, or whatever, like, you can do that. So if I wanted to, I could go to here, and we can change this to a quote, and now it's a block quote just like that. There was no like highlighting and going up to a menu and finding the block quote or whatever. And so I really like it. It's really cool, and you can do a lot of cool things. You can transform this into a list if you wanted to, but I think it looks best as a block quote. So we'll go back to a quote like that. Let's see if there's any other questions. We have about, the timer is counting down. You may see that, and we got 8 minutes left. And let's see what Walter says. He says, I've been using Dreamweaver for many years, and you can design and post websites without knowing code. It has a lot of customization options, like you're showing. It writes working code, but it's somewhat clunky in the code that makes you write PHP and HTML and CSS, and you can avoid to make it 50% faster, not a lot cleaner. Will this have clunky code, or is it more optimized when used? I don't think this is going to have clunky code. Like once we look at it, it's basically like it's just writing the HTML and then it's wrapping it in a class, and it's a WP dash some sort of class, and then it's got these like WP dash or colon table, WP colon paragraph, and that's what Gutenberg looks for. And so it's not writing any extra code. It's doing exactly what it needs. If we look at this, like the table that's here, it's basically just got the lines, for each row, and then these are each column. And so it's not like it's adding any extra code. I don't think it's going to be bloated. I don't think that it's going to add unnecessary stuff to our editor or to the page load time or whatnot. I think it's going to do a pretty good job. I think in this day and age, we're in 2018 and WordPress has been around for almost 15 years now. And I think that the team that's working on it is extremely smart. Like I actually saw a presentation just last month from somebody that's on the Gutenberg team, and just like the things that they've thought of to make it work, and the power that JavaScript has. Like one of the interesting things was up here in this area where it says save draft. There's actually, this is just behind the scenes, something that you get to know today, that this save draft button actually, it has a delay on it. JavaScript is so fast and can save your information so fast that this button would never be there, because it would save the draft and you'd never see it. It would hit, like it would say save draft and then it would disappear before you could even see it. And so they said there's a false delay on that button that says, so people can sense that, oh, it's actually saving. Like, so if we start typing here, and we'll add some more here to the webinar, and we'll type some more, and we can see, like let's watch it save. Let's see if it does anything. But eventually it's going to like do a little animation, and it's going to save the draft for us. Maybe it'll save. But it's just a fake thing. Like they went ahead and did that because they thought that so many people would think, oh, well, it's never going to save, or it hasn't saved. And it's just, that's the way it was. It was kind of a cool little thing in the interim. So that's something neat to know about Gutenberg. Everything talks back to the database really, really fast, and you should never lose any text and never lose any updates or custom changes that you make. So that's pretty cool. All right, Fernando says, it doesn't add any extra code. It just wraps codes and comments. Gutenberg looks for those comments to dictate where block starts and ends. The front end markup doesn't change. That is right. So we saw that in a little bit ago when we looked at the HTML. So I think you're still 100%, like if you are somebody like me that always enters in the code editor, like that's where I paste almost all my text. I just go ahead and into the HTML editor and I just paste everything that I want there. Like nothing's really going to change for you. You can do it, and you don't even have to include those blocks if you don't want to, or you can include them, and so then your visual preview before you publish is a lot nicer. So that's, I guess, in kind of a nutshell. I've got 5 minutes left. If there's any more questions about Gutenberg, anything else that I can show you, if I know how to do it. I think the big takeaway today is to spend a little bit of time on your own site, going in and just playing with a post, or what does an old post look like. We can see for an example as we'll just leave this page and lose all of our changes. But like here's the Hello World post that everybody's so familiar with. That's the one that's installed when you install WordPress. But if you click on Hello World, it's going to open up in Gutenberg. And so we can see that, it just has the title here, and here's like the classic, it's just like the classic kind of editor piece. Like that's, I believe that's a block that you can add. Maybe is it called classic? Yeah, you could just add a classic block, and then it's just like the current blocks that we're using today, and we can just add all of our text and we can enter. So if we wanted to have one big long thing, we can do that just like that. So that's what it is. Like you can see that it just automatically, if we look at the code here, there's nothing here. There's no extra code. There's no defining block around this, because that is a post that was created before Gutenberg was installed on the website. So that's going to, I guess if it doesn't have those blocks around it, it's just going to consider it's the classic editor. It's going to be in block form, and that's how it's going to work. And so I don't think that we're going to I don't think we're going to run into a lot of problems with the old posts, and it's just going to be a matter of time. If you want to spend the extra time and effort and energy to go back to old posts and put them into blocks, that's more power to you. Maybe hopefully there's a way that we can write a script to do that. So especially if we have a lot of posts that we don't necessarily want to do that by hand. 400 podcast episodes to edit all those by hand would be very, 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 very tedious. Fred is mentioning that galleries are improved via this editor as well. Yeah, if we want to add a gallery, let's do one of those real quick. I don't know if I have any pictures here on my. We'll do gallery, and we can add from the media library. Hopefully there's something in the media library. No, there's not. Let's see if there's anything that's worth using. I don't really even have any pictures here on my. I can use this screenshot. We'll use some screenshots here. So there's the media library. We can create a new gallery like this, and we can reorder them if we want to, and we can insert the gallery, and it just looks like that. If we need to edit the gallery, we can rearrange them. We can, if we had Jetpack installed, we could change what the gallery looked like. I guess if we have the blocks over here, we can change the number of columns. If we wanted to only have one column, if we wanted to crop the images, we have all those capabilities and all of that you could do there as well. So less than a minute to go, 2 minutes. We're looking at my Plex information. I was trying to get my server up and running. That didn't really work very well, but let's see. So that's images. We got one more question. I think enough time for that. Thanks for the info and the heads up. I'm getting to update a series of 6 corporate websites, and we'll use Gutenberg to add in the work to future-proof things as I go. They have no posts or blogs, but a lot of intercorrelated pages, thousands of them. Wow, Walter, that sounds like a great, huge project, and good luck to you. And it's perfectly fine to start kind of future-proofing them and getting it all ready to get set up. Chris says, will 5.0 use the term Gutenberg anywhere the client sees? I think we might be sound crazy if they're using Gutenberg. There's a big, long issue on GitHub about, do we call it Gutenberg? Do we not? Is it just called the editor? And we have the classic editor. I don't think you'll ever see the word Gutenberg anywhere in WordPress 5.0. And that's my comment. I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. We might be surprised. That's what I'm going to share. That's all I'm going to do. We're going to wrap it up before my time cap is up. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll do another webinar real soon. And we'll talk about something else. It sounds like there's a lot of folks who enjoyed the webinar today and learned something from it. And so we'll continue to do these video sessions so we can make sure that we know what's going on with WordPress and we can get the most out of our WordPress sites. That's all. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye. I figured it was Adam, TM. Ha, I unmuted you. Less than a minute really means 2 minutes to go.